Hello and welcome to Look North.
Yes, good evening. Our top story tonight. Soaring levels of crime in West Yorkshire as a new Chief Constable takes over. We'll ask the man in charge of keeping 2.2 million people safe how he's going to tackle the problem.
Also tonight, the litter dumped on Yorkshire's beaches that's putting marine wildlife in danger.
The biggest shutdown of the East Coast Main Line for 20 years. Has Network Rail got the timing wrong?
The injured servicemen and women rebuilding their lives through sport.
And the weather is looking hot, hot, hot for this week. Plenty of sunshine, but that heat may trigger some thunderstorms as well. Join me later in the programme for your full forecast.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. Tonight, do you still have faith in the police? With crime levels rising and the number of officers much lower than a decade ago, our forces are facing an unprecedented challenge. This week, the new Chief Constable of West Yorkshire officially begins work, overseeing the fourth biggest police force in the country.
John Robins is pledging to reduce crime and make communities feel safer. But is this possible? We'll speak to the Chief Constable in a moment. But first, here's our Home Affairs correspondent, Emma Glasby.
The pressure has been growing on West Yorkshire Police. Violent crime is up. Knife crime is at a record high. The force faces a huge task investigating historical child sexual exploitation and grooming. And this is with 600 fewer officers than in 2010. The increasing crime figures paint a worrying picture, but for those who've experienced violent crime, the reality can be devastating and the impact long-lasting. In 2016, Richard was attacked in his fish and chip shop in Wyke in Bradford. No one has ever been arrested.
It was a year before I had surgery to repair the damage. I lost teeth. I was quite badly beaten. Still living with it. Still wakes me up.
What do you want to see from West Yorkshire Police in terms of tackling violent crime?
I want to see from West Yorkshire Police more policemen on the beat, but I don't know if that's up to West Yorkshire Police or up to the government. I need to see proper funding for them.
Next door, the sweet shop business has had to call the police out several times after being burgled.
To be fair, they have responded quickly and efficiently. Unfortunately, we do find that when there isn't an issue going on, we don't see them very often. We're a sweet shop, we have a lot of children here with a lot of families. It would be nice to see a police presence in the village just to keep the general atmosphere in the village.
For the woman who led the West Yorkshire Police Force in recent years, the growing demands were felt alongside a big reduction in officers. As Dee Collins retired, she spoke openly of her concerns.
I feel quite nervous about leaving West Yorkshire Police at a time when policing is facing so many challenges. Our communities are very, very anxious about the future. There's so many different factors that are at play here, from Brexit and organised criminality to cuts to public services and people's expectations. I do think it is an incredibly sensitive time for the public.
So has West Yorkshire Police got the resources to be able to face these challenges?
Well, I think the very real answer to that is no, we haven't.
Those challenges will now be in the hands of John Robins. After almost 30 years with West Yorkshire Police, today he's officially the Chief Constable. Leading a force that serves 2 million people will be a demanding job, with no way of knowing exactly what lies ahead. Emma Glasby, BBC Look North.
Well, John Robins joins us now in the studio. First of all, Mr. Robins, congratulations on the new appointment. But, you know, is it fair to say, having watched that report, that it's never been a better time to be a criminal in West Yorkshire than it is now?
Ian, it's absolutely not fair to say that. Our operational frontline officers and staff, day in, day out, their job is to take criminals off the streets and to prosecute offenders. I joined policing 30 years ago with that ambition, and I know the vast majority of police officers share exactly that same ambition.
But are you doing it, though? Are you actually doing it?
Yes, we are facing challenges, as is in your report, and that Emma highlights, and both Richard and Keith in that report highlight exactly what our frontline officers see as There are occasions when the demands upon policing are outstripped the resources that are available to us, but that doesn't mean that the police officers and police staff are not absolutely determined to do all they can to protect the public, because much of it is not down to those frontline officers and staff, it's down to resources and availability of resources.
Now, if we look at some figures that have come out in the past week for West Yorkshire's crime levels, overall recorded crime levels have actually gone up by 80%. Violent offences have tripled, and actually 1 in 3 offences recorded by West Yorkshire Police was a violent crime. Doesn't make for very comfortable reading, does it?
So overall crime levels have gone up by 11%, and in the next few months I think the next set of statistics you'll see are actually going to lessen. However, let's be straightforward about this. Nobody wants to see crime rising, but there's a direct correlation between crime figures, the amount of offences committed, and the amount of available resources to policing to deal with those. So again, every operational police officer and police staff across West Yorkshire shares those same concerns. They all live and reside in West Yorkshire. They don't want to see crime going up. So I can give the residents and people within West Yorkshire this commitment that we are doing everything we possibly can. And as the new Chief Constable, I'm absolutely determined to do more about it.
So can you reassure viewers then that under your tenure we will see a reverse of those figures that are rising?
Well, there's been some national crime statistics changes over the last few years. West Yorkshire Police are the only force in the country who was outstanding at recording crime. What that means is that people should have confidence in our crime figures. We've now got to a stable platform, and it is my commitment that the next 5 years of being Chief Constable is to reduce crime, is to make people feel reassured, and is to provide more reassuring presence on the streets of West Yorkshire.
So in 5 years' time, if we have you back on the sofa, you'll be able to look at some figures that are a reduction on those?
Look to me very carefully. I'm giving a commitment to do all that I can with the resources available to me, but it depends upon what the next 5 years brings to us. But I can give you that commitment. We'll do all that we can to keep people safe.
Obviously, Dee Collins is a hard act to follow, very popular with the public and very popular with your staff too. Hopefully you will be as well. But, you know, when you saw that interview that she did as she retired, were you pleased that she said what she said and spoke out like that?
Yeah, a number of the chiefs now nationally have been speaking out to say there is this direct correlation between resources and crime levels. I think some of our staff would have wished that we'd said it a lot earlier, but I worked closely with Dee for the last 5 years. I've created much of what's happening in West Yorkshire alongside Dee, and I've been her deputy for that time. So I'm very fortunate to have shared the same vision as her. So I can give you that assurance that we're of a like mind.
Now, I just want to ask you about the policing of the Extinction Rebellion protest last week. Now, do you think that you got the balance right between allowing peaceful protest and actually policing it enough to limit disruption?
I think we do. There's a straightforward answer to that. We did. It's a real balance between protecting two groups of human rights here, the human rights of those peaceful protesters and the human rights of those people who want to live, work and visit the city. There was disruption, but I think the police commanders who dealt with that and the operational officers on the front line did a great job. There was far less disruption in Leeds as one of the 5 cities that was affected by it than anywhere else. So I do think we did a good job with it, but we're in the middle of this and we can't please everybody all of the time.
Just to pick up on one little point that we made there about the rise in crime, we said 80%. We're talking since 2012, that figure. So that is a dramatic increase, isn't it? So you've got to do something.
We will do. The vast majority of that increase is in recorded crime practices, but there has been an increase in crime, again, related to resources and related to pressures on policing. And there's also been changing crime types as well, and more non-visible crime, more sexual offences. So again, the difficulty where Richard and Keith are saying they want frontline visible resources, we constantly have to balance the threat, harm and risk as to where we can put our resources.
OK. Chief Constable, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next tonight, marine conservationists in Scarborough